On the news, gunmen killed 12 persons, abduct several residents in Zamfara reprisal attack. Federal Executive Council approves renewed Hope Agenda First Procurement Policy. Nigeria First Procurement Policy to prioritize local manufacturing. Nigeria's Senate sets up committee to oversee activities of River State Administrator Ibas. Hello and welcome to News Now on TV 360 Nigeria. I'm Simisola Atikun. At least 12 people have been killed and an unspecified number abducted in a coordinated reprisal attack by armed bandits on several villages in Maru local government area of Zamfara state. Counter-insurgency expert Zagazola Makama revealed the attack, which occurred on May 5, 2025 at about 1:30 p.m. followed a recent operation by the Nigerian Army troops of Operation Fasanyama that targeted a bandits camp in the Darkurmi forest. According to the reports, the bandits stormed 7 communities in the Darkurmi district. The report adds that troops were alerted and have been responding decisively as efforts to rescue the abducted victims intensified. The Federal Executive Council (FEC) has approved a Nigeria First policy aimed at prioritizing the use of locally made goods and services in all government procurement. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris announced the policy while briefing State House correspondents after Monday's cabinet meeting chaired by President Bola Tinubu at the council chamber. TV 360's Victoria Konde has more from the cabinet meeting.
Thank you very much, Simi. Now, the renewed Hope Nigeria First policy mandates all federal ministries, departments and agencies to give absolute priority to Nigerian goods and services. Speaking to State House correspondents, the Information Minister says the policy places Nigeria at the center of all public procurement and business activity, with a strong emphasis on empowering local industries and reducing dependency on imports. He said the policy would be backed by an executive order, with the Attorney General directed to draft the necessary legal instruments.
Going forward, Nigerian industry will take precedence in all procurement processes. Where local supply falls short, contracts will be structured to build capacity domestically. Contractors will no longer serve as intermediaries sourcing foreign goods where local factories die idle.
The Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Ali Pate, announced the approval of a contract worth 10.3 billion naira for various medical products aimed at improving accessible and affordable healthcare services for Nigerians.
As you know, the federal government is investing heavily in the primary healthcare system alongside the states, but the secondary and tertiary facilities are also important. Secondary facilities are in the realm of the states, but tertiary facilities, federal medical centers, teaching hospitals are where we train health workers, provide high quality referral services, and revamping those infrastructures is so key to the health sector transformation that Mr. President has directed us to undertake.
In the agricultural sector, a draft bill for the establishment of the National Cocoa Management Board has been approved by FEC to revitalize and regulate Nigeria's cocoa subsector for enhanced economic development.
Part of the resolution that was reached was to copy what they had done in Cote d'Ivoire and also in Ghana, where they have established the National Cocoa Management Board. But prior to that, we in the ministry had established the Cocoa Management Committee to look into the viability of setting up that board. And we have done that, and we have submitted to FEC for approval so that the Attorney General would submit a bill to the National Assembly for the establishment of the National Cocoa Management Board.
The council also approved several infrastructure and ecological projects across the country, including the resculping of key federal roads, new road constructions, and the rehabilitation of dams and irrigation schemes.
Mr. President presented to the President of China 2 projects, the Akwanga, Jos, Bauchi, Gombe Road, and then this 7th Axia Road for funding of China Exim Bank. And so the project has been is 50 kilometers and with 5 kilometers of bridges over there.
The Minister of Works also disclosed that President Bola Tinubu will inaugurate a 30-kilometer portion of Section 1 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway before May 25. It said 10 kilometers of the Sokoto-Badagry Road project at the KB axis, completed with concrete, would also be inaugurated before May 25. Victoria Akonde, TV360 News, Lagos.
Well, let's get reactions to the federal government's Nigeria First policy, banning foreign goods that can be produced locally. I'm joined by Mr. Segun Sokwito, an economist and principal partner at Woodridge and Scott Consulting. Thank you very much for your time. Now, this is Nigeria's first economic policy, which will prioritize local industries. How practicable is this policy, considering how dependent Nigeria is on foreign products?
I think it's, well, how practicable it is a conversation that I think we also need to have. But I think in the first instance, we should commend the president for doing this. This is something that many of us who are public commentators, and who understand how economies will run, have been calling for a very long time. So it's very, very commendable that this has been done. However, I also need to say, before we even talk about the practicability, that in order for this not to be just another policy pronouncement, because what I have found in my personal research is that we have amazing policy statements, amazing policy documents, we've got amazing plans, development plans and all of that. They never ever get implemented or implemented properly. So one of the things that I think should happen with this is an immediate action from all federal government agencies, and which will then provide leadership to the state subnational governments to do the same. And what action am I speaking about? I think that if the president wants to take the bull by the horn and show the world that he's serious, and Nigerians that he's serious, all of the foreign sourced, foreign produced items, starting from vehicles, whatever it is that is produced in Nigeria that currently has been purchased in the last 2 years, I think they should be sold. Now, this sounds radical, but I think this would be a strong statement of intent. Imagine if all of the senators and all of the legislators sold all those 160 million naira SUVs and then go to buy either from Innocent or from Nord local equivalents, which are also bulletproof, which are also very strongly made, and all of that, very luxurious, and which probably will cost a fraction of the cost of those ones. Just imagine, the optics that would present. And let's not forget, that maybe perhaps the second-hand value of some of those vehicles that were purchased might even be more than the brand new price of some of the locally produced ones. So I think we might even find a savings opportunity, in this proposal or in this suggestion that I've made. It sounds radical, but I think it's something that the president should consider if he really wants people to know that he means business. Now, to the practicability of this, look, as commendable as this is, as necessary as it is, the truth of the matter is that it will have limited success, and that's simply because the infrastructure base that is required to drive local production is completely missing. Our infrastructure deficits are, significant. We're talking 80%, 70% deficits, 50%, 60% deficits across the different infrastructure sectors of the economy, especially electricity. So one of the things I think should go hand in hand with this policy is an emergency approach to the question of electricity supply, generation, transmission, and supply. Looking at things from an out-of-the-box perspective, how can we ramp up availability of electricity, say, to 20,000 megawatts, for example, in 2 years? It's very possible, Egypt ramped up 40,000 megawatts in 3 years, or is it 4 years? 40,000 megawatts in 4 years. So I don't see any reason why we can't at least get an additional 10,000, maybe 15,000 megawatts over the next 2 years. This will be absolutely critical.
Mr. Shekwitan, let me come in here. You think that the policy will face implementation challenges and resistance from entrenched procurement interests, even though the government says it's determined to enforce compliance at all levels? And what should the compliance measures entail?
I mean, I think that all compliance really should not be a problem. If there's political will, compliance will happen, and it starts right from the top. So what I think the compliance measures should start with the president simply asking for a periodic report with regards to implementation, of this policy. So, for example, you could have your ministries, your MDAs, your MDA heads present weekly at every FEC meeting, present a procurement report from your ministry and show percentage local versus foreign sourced content, and make sure that becomes a culture. I think if we do that, then you will see that there will be adoption. But if you don't track and measure, then there is no way that compliance will be effective. So I think the president really needs to drive this for it to work.
I guess time will tell the practicability of this policy. Mr. Segun Shekwitan, economist and partner at Woodridge and Scott Consulting, we appreciate your contribution as always. Thank you very much. Still on recent approvals by the federal government, President Bola Tinubu has approved Nigeria's 10-year national policy on marine and blue economy from 2025 to 2034. The policy approved on Tuesday by the president at the FEC meeting on May 5 is designed with a robust implementation plan with the goal of harnessing Nigeria's vast marine resources to drive economic growth. According to the special advisor, media and public communication to President Bola Tinubu Sunday Diary, the policy implementation will be financed primarily from the private sector, followed by various other sources in line with the president's vision of greater private investments. As the National Assembly resumes plenary on Tuesday, May 6, 2025, following the Easter and Salah breaks, the Senate says it is set to prioritize key national issues, including the passage of tax reform bills, the resolution of the Rivers State political crisis, and strategies to combat the renewed Boko Haram threat in parts of the Northeast. Senate leader Opeyemi Bamidele made this known in a statement issued in Abuja outlining the legislative focus for the coming weeks. He also highlighted other pressing matters such as the constitutional review process and proposed amendments to the Electoral Act as top priorities when lawmakers return to the chambers. Meanwhile, the Senate has constituted an 18-member committee tasked with overseeing the activities of the Rivers State sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas. Senate President Godswill Akpabio, who made this known during the resumption of plenary on Tuesday, says the committee will ensure transparency and accountability in the state's governance. Akpabio named Senate leader Opeyemi Bamidele as chairman of the committee.
Let me also mention that there is need for us to have a committee, just like the House of Representatives has done, the leader of the Senate, to oversight the functions of the administrator of Rivers State and the Rivers State government under emergency rule. So the chairman of that committee will be Sir Distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, the Senate leader, and the deputy chairman will be Distinguished Senator Rufai Hanga.
President Bola Tinubu has presented a budget of over 1 billion naira as the 2025 budget of the Federal Capital Territory to the National Assembly for consideration and passage. In a letter from the President from the president read on the floor of the Speaker, Abbas Tajuddin. The president said the budget presentation to the National Assembly is in line with the provisions of Section 299 of the Nigerian Constitution, which vests the legislative function of the FCT on the National Assembly. He says the budget will prioritize investment in health, job creation, social welfare, increased agricultural production, and capital development.
A total expenditure of 1,783,823,708,392 naira is proposed for the year 2025. As such, 85% of the capital expenditure is dedicated to the completion of ongoing projects, while 15% is for new capital projects, so as to sustain ongoing efforts at providing basic infrastructure and social amenities in the FCT.
Meanwhile, 8 members of the House of Representatives have announced their defection. 6 lawmakers from Delta State formally dumped the People's Democratic Party (PDP) for the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC), while 2 lawmakers from Enugu State have left the Labour Party to join the PDP. Their defection letters were read on the floor of the House during plenary on Tuesday.
Notify you of my resignation from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressive Congress (APC). My resignation is as a result of the unresolved disputes at the national headquarters as well as the South-South zone of the party. I write to formally notify you and the esteemed leadership of the 10th House of Representatives of my decision to change my political party affiliation from the Labour Party to the People's Democratic Party, effective immediately.
In other stories, the Federal High Court in Abuja has directed the prosecution in the ongoing trial of the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, to ensure all relevant documents and materials intended for trial are duly served on the defense team before being tendered in court. At the resumed hearing, the court took a firm stance on trial procedures following confusion over legal representation and tension surrounding courtroom conduct. Attempts by the prosecution to tender a letter authorizing its witness investigation met stiff resistance from defense counsel Kanu Agabi, who objected on the grounds that the document was not front-loaded. The matter was subsequently adjourned to Wednesday, May 7, for continuation of trial.
He started his testimony after the introductory. The prosecution realized that they couldn't go on because the documents they wanted to rely on were not served on the defense. And indeed, the court doesn't even have copy. So the court agreed to their suggested adjournment for tomorrow so that the documents will be served on the defense. And even as upon the service, what will happen tomorrow is just for the examination in chief of PW to continue. And then we will take our time, look at documents, and then commence our cross-examination of EW2. Okay. But in the main, like I always say, it is moving on swiftly.
We'll take a break here. Still to come on News Now, 18 British student groups support legal action to remove Hamas from UK's terror list. We'll give you details shortly. Welcome back. Let's brief you on our main stories. At least 12 people have been killed and an unspecified number abducted in a coordinated reprisal attack by armed bandits on several villages in Maru local government area of Zamfara state following a recent operation by Nigerian army troops of Operation Fasanyama that targeted a bandits camp in the Dankarmi forest. We also informed you that the Federal Executive Council (FEC) has approved a renewed Hope Nigeria First policy aimed at prioritizing the use of locally made goods and services in all government procurement. Now, in case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV and AVO TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery and Apple Store. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. Let's turn to Tamilore Akinkwole, who's on standby with the latest in the world of business. Over to you, Tamilore.
Thank you, Samuel, and welcome to Business News. Now, the Nigeria Data Protection Commission, NDPC, says it plans to resolve the lingering data breach dispute with Meta platforms through dialogue and collaboration. Now, this follows the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission's FCCPC fine of $220 million on Meta, the parent company of WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram, for multiple privacy violations. Speaking at a one-day intensive workshop for data protection officers in Abuja, the Chief Executive Officer and National Commissioner of NDPC, Vincent Olatuji, said the Commission's approach is to engage organizations and seek amicable solutions rather than escalate matters. We'll take a breather here and be back with Stock Market Report. And Nigeria's equities market recorded its biggest daily gain this month, thanks to strong rally led by Nestle Nigeria PLC. Now, at the close of trading on Tuesday, the market rose by 1.56%, adding a record of 1.04 trillion to the liquid bourse. This pushed the Nigerian Exchange All-Share Index up to 108,361.10, while the market capitalization also increased to 68.11 trillion. Now, so far this week, the market has gained 2.19%. and 2.42% since the beginning of the month. The rally was largely driven by investors' interest in blue-chip stocks. Nestle Nigerian PLC led the charge, with its share price rising by 110 naira to close at 1,210 naira, followed by another Nigerian flour mills who saw a 10% jump from 75 naira to 82 naira 50 kobo. Now, a total of 475 million volumes of shares worth 13 billion naira were traded in 17,575 deals. Now, on the global front, major Asia indices, including Japan's Nikkei 225, were closed for Greenery Day, and the UK FTSE index resumed trading after the Labour Day break, posting a marginal gain of 0.012%. Meanwhile, the US Dow Jones ended the day in the red, shedding 0.44%. Now, on the foreign exchange market, the Naira continued to slide on the parallel market, trading at 1,615 naira to the US dollar, 2,015 naira to the Great British Pound, and 1,710 naira to the euros, which is unchanged from the previous day's rates. And that's it on both business and stock market roundup. Back to you, Simi, for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much, Tamilore. And drone attacks have hit a major power station in the Sudanese city of Port Sudan, causing a complete power outage. The country's electricity provider has disclosed explosions and huge fires were reported near the city's main international airport as a paramilitary force targeted the key city for the third consecutive day. Sudan's electricity company says it is assessing the damage on its substation, which has disrupted supply of water, health and other services. According to reports, flights have been cancelled after drones hit the international airport and a hotel near the current presidential palace. 18 student groups at the British universities have supported legal moves to remove Hamas from the UK's list of proscribed terrorist organizations. Some of the groups are affiliated with student unions at leading UK academic institutions, including the London School of Economics, the University of Edinburgh and University College London. The groups say the legal petition defends the right of students, academics and communities to think freely, speak openly and organize without fear of being criminalized. Finally, on sports, the 40th edition of the African Wrestling Championships have concluded in Casablanca, Morocco, with Nigeria placing second in the overall medal standings. Team Nigeria won a total of 12 medals, 10 gold, 1 silver and 1 bronze, finishing just behind Egypt, who amassed 24 medals, comprising 11 gold, 8 silver and 5 bronze. The Nigerian women's team dominated the freestyle category by clinching 9 of the 10 gold medals available. And France's former Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin has apologized to Liverpool fans for wrongly blaming them for the chaos at the Stade de France during the 2022 Champions League final in Paris. Fans were caught in dangerous crowd congestion outside the Stade de France before the match, which was delayed for over 30 minutes. In reports carried by British media, Darmanin, now serving as the Justice Minister, admitted that security arrangements for the final between Liverpool and Real Madrid were inadequate and that his previous public remarks blaming English fans were a mistake. That's it on News Now. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next time.